Few life events happened in my late 20s, and I call this chapter of my life the things that happen in threes, because not only had I broken up with my partner of 5 years, which was done in such a cold way, and by that I mean a phone call and being given a box of my things on the side of the road, and then the second thing was being made redundant, which meant not only did I lose my job, but the accommodation as well, which means I had to totally relocate. And the third thing was I crashed my car into my then ex-boss's house. Yeah, so it was this cascade of events that seriously amplified the already pre-existing symptoms, and I developed adult acne. In this video, I'm going to share the 3 things I did, all natural, that helped me transform my life. I was suffering with 3 out of the 4 symptoms of PCOS, and I'm going to share the exact process that I did to overcome, and also how I manage my PCOS going forward. This at the time, and the more work I've done on myself, but also through reading scientific journals, reading and listening to other coaches, I'm like, oh my goodness, I had 3 out of the 4 symptoms of PCOS. Inflammation, I was insulin resistant, and I had adrenal fatigue. I would get so tired. The stress was through the roof. Symptoms every single month were absolutely debilitating. So for those of you that are watching, and if you have PCOS, my heart goes out to you, especially if you have the inflammation. I mean, they're all very uncomfortable. The inflammation for me was a big thing, because it was like something that took over my life on a monthly basis. Now that's 12 times in a year. I've been suffering with that for 15 years. That's a lot of pain, that's a lot to go through. Every month, not only would I have like anxiety because I knew what was about to come, it's part of nature, right? But not only did I live with the anxiety of thinking, oh my God, this is coming, like you mentally prepare yourself for it. Then it was like, okay, it's happening and now it's here. And it felt like every month my insides were being pulled and ripped out, is how I would describe it. Because yes, the cramps were bad. And I mean, I've not had a child yet, but a lot of people I say that I speak to that have PCOS and they've managed to have a child say to me, it's like almost like contractions giving birth, because of the rhythm it kind of follows when it happens. But I describe it like something is ripping inside of you. It is so extremely painful. That was the like part 1, and then part 2 of this monthly cycle was bleeding. The amount of iron I lost, I would bleed through the thickest tampon, the thickest pad, like maxi pad thing, and to top it all off, it was extremely embarrassing, because I'd be not only having anxiety about being in pain and going through this every month, then the bleeding would come, and because I was so uncomfortable from an inflammation perspective, I wasn't sleeping, so my cortisol was through the roof, and it was this really like negative cycle that I was in, and tried so many options. Obviously, going to the doctors to help with PCOS is always some form of pill. It's never looking at your lifestyle, and this is what I needed, but I found out the hard way. So when I think back, especially in your teens, you think, okay, like what would I have done differently? When I was in my teenage years, okay, because I suppose you're just oblivious to it, and you think to yourself, well, you know, you're not worried about having kids or whatever, so you're thinking, right, I'm gonna just crack on, and that I probably took some painkillers. Nowadays, I just really don't want to take painkillers. It's something I've not done for many years now. I'm off the pill completely. But the biggest like trigger for my PCOS was actually my late 20s, when 3 significant events happened in the space of 6 weeks. So for starters, I was competing at the time, so I was an athlete representing Great Britain doing dressage, which is a part of my life which I absolutely love and will be like grateful for the rest of my life. But this meant I was very active. It meant that I was already going to the gym. I was eating what I thought was healthy foods, obviously, because you don't know what you don't know, and like how limiting my mindset was and was actually holding me back then is scary, because I was almost too confident in what I was thinking that I know better, I know how to eat, right? totally wrong, and so glad I was proved wrong by myself and through these lifestyle changes, which I'm going to teach you today. But the first life event it was in my late 20s, and I'd been with a partner for like 5 years. We split up, everyone goes through heartbreak and all that. But it was like the way it was done was so hurtful, but also just so cold is how I would describe it. It's not hurtful, it was cold. It was very much like, like a phone call, done, goodbye. And then it was also like collecting my stuff, which is in a box, side of the road. There you go. And we've all done this. Something I'm not proud of, but hey, I'm human and I've done it, was like scrolling through social media and I just happened to find, as you do, a photo of him with his new partner who was pregnant and was wearing one of my riding jackets. And I remember just thinking like, are you kidding me? Like I lost it. Thank God I don't do that anymore, and I've learned a lot from those relationships. And again, I'm grateful for him. I'm grateful for what he did. However, it doesn't make it any easier, and it also it means that it was a part of my life where I'm like, I understand why the PCOS stress levels were through the roof. The second event that happened within that 6-week period in my late 20s was my boss made me redundant, and that, again, okay, it happens to people, but I was living, like, when you're a horsey girl, you live and breathe horses every single day, especially if you're riding and working as a groom. And that's what happened with me, was everything was just like taken away. I was like, okay, I have no house. I had furniture, yay. I was paying off like monthly furniture on finance, but I had nowhere to live. So it was a tail between my legs moment of getting a van, hiring a van and driving my stuff back up north to live with my dad. Which was not the proudest moment, however, part of my story. But the third thing that happened within the 6 weeks was I crashed my car into that boss that made me redundant's place. Now again, that was not intentional. I know it probably sounds a bit coincidental, but hey, it's funny to look back now and laugh, but at the time, it was like a slight hill that the car was parked on. It wasn't extreme, and the gradient, and I obviously had like loads of stuff in my hand, being busy in your head as you do, trying to multitask, carried my bags upstairs, and the next one I just heard this like shudder. And I remember thinking like, what's happening? Like, it felt like an earthquake type thing, but I had no idea. And then I had my phone call from my boss, like screaming down the phone, and my car was in the side of her house. Yeah, that was definitely one of those moments where you're like, right, 3 things happened, that's got to be it, right? That is it. But obviously from that, my acne developed. I developed adult acne, which I had no idea was a thing. And the pain and discomfort that caused, oh my God, not only did it affect my confidence, but I remember waking up with like burning pain all the way down my cheeks. It was down my side of my neck, and it was like uncomfortable because you were itchy. Like I try and scratch it, but then even bringing anything near it, like even having clothes near it or on it, would just aggravate it to a point. And they weren't even like pimples. It was like a red boil on my face. And what was really quite nerving and kind of really kept me awake at night was, as you do, you Dr. Google it, and it was like the long-lasting effects of adult acne, if not treated quickly, was like scarring, returning acne, things like that. And I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this. So this was all happening in those 6 weeks, which obviously exemplified my PCOS. I didn't know this at the time. Went to the doctors. The obvious solution was take a pill, take steroids. I was too stubborn for that. I refused all of that medication. But then, it's like, okay, fair enough, refusing medication, that's your choice, as at my cost. But I was like, now what do I do? Because there's no other solution. I was looking everywhere on what to do. And when I had to move out the apartment because I was kicked out the flat, and I drove back north, moved in with my dad, and he was like, you have to go and see a specialist, you have to go private, because he didn't realize how bad it was. I remember seeing his face when I walked in the door. He was just like, right, we're not messing around, you have to get to a specialist. And like a good girl, I went, dragging my heels. And do you know what, it was so frustrating, because when I was in there, he spent 30 seconds, and I should have, it was maybe even quicker. Like I sat down, I had my list of things ready to tell him, you know, like ready for this investigation, how to figure out what this is and how we cure it from the inside out, you know, only to find him look at me and say, right, you have adult acne, you need this prescription, like slid over a piece of paper on the table. He was like, you need that, £300. So I took this pill every month for 3 months, but it was so strong that I had to have blood tests every month to prove I wasn't pregnant, because if you were pregnant on the pill, it could have like significant damaging effects on the baby, which is crazy anyway. But like, I was like, definitely, anyway, they had to prove it, so I had to have blood tests done, which I hate needles, so that was very, well, it's just not an enjoyable experience for me every month to go through. But they put me on a medication called Roaccutane, and to be fair, it cleared up most of it, but didn't get rid of it. So I stopped it after 3 months, because that's when I really found things like better skincare, and now use an organic vegan skin care, which I've used for 5-6 years now. Absolutely love it. Like, it's just worked wonders. There's no blemishes even on my monthly cycle. But most important, and the elephant in the room was, why was it there? So here comes the adventure part. And this is exactly what I teach my ladies that I work with one-to-one on True Self-Mastery, because I believe every female, especially if you have PCOS and you're struggling, should know this, because there is more to life than taking a pill. And actually what you do on a daily basis with your life has a more significant effect on your inside, on your hormonal health, on your skin, than taking that pill. Okay, I've got nothing against modern medicine. There's a time and a place, but a lot of that can be avoided, and we know why modern medicine is so fueled by pharmaceuticals, because of this. So like, there's other ways we can look after our body, and actually more sustainable ways for the future. So here are the 3 things. Number 1, nutrition. The biggest tip I can give you today is look at the back of each and every ingredient. Seed oils are doing so much more damage to your hormonal health, especially if you have PCOS, than any form of sugar. So look at your nutrition. Now, when it comes to seed oils, why? And again, I'm not an expert, but I'm doing more and more research behind this and reading the science behind it. I'm like, oh my God. So in a nutshell, I'm going to try and explain this to you. The reason seed oils are so more harmful than sugar is, yes, sugar spikes your glucose and you get refined sugars, starches, all that. But seed oils, the way they are extracted, the way the oil is extracted from the seed, like a sunflower seed, that goes through a process that is so chemically induced that when that oil is released, it is harmful to the body, like so harmful. And these manufacturers know this, by the way, that when they like have that oil and it's come out the extraction, they actually use that to clean farm equipment. Farm equipment, that's how strong this stuff is. And we're ingesting it because they found a more cost-effective way to keep food to last longer, because that's what they want, right? Food to last longer, taste nicer, have a nicer texture to it, just for our synthetic, like almost superficial dopamine hit that we all crave, is how these seed oils have like gone rampant. These things weren't around many years ago. This is a new thing. Not many people know about it. So what happened is, these seed oils then are put into our food. They are more common than you think, guys. There's the harmful 8 seed oils. If you want to know what they are, just comment the word seed oil and I'll send it through to you. They have like a PDF on it to watch out for these 8 harmful 8 ingredient seed oils. But basically they affect your cell, each and every cell in your body, to a point where they prevent that cell from functioning properly. Now again, there's so much more behind it, but imagine your cell is covered in the seed oil, which is preventing you actually, when you eat food, to get the benefit from it, because your cell can't absorb it and can't release the glucose. So what happens is, in one way or another, you then you're eating and you're like, oh, I'm hungry again, or I need a snack, or I need another snack. You never feel like quite satiated, you never feel full. That is because you are insulin resistant, which, by the way, is a form of PCOS as well. Like, it is one of the symptoms of PCOS for sure, and it's something I really had. I was binge eating, emotionally eating. I could not put down a bag of M&Ms. Like, I thought I was addicted. I had a problem. Like, and you all go through this process of like, it's my motivation, I'll start Monday. Like, when I did the research behind this, I was like, this has got to do with your motivation. we are being poisoned. Our cells are being toxified, so they cannot function. So what happens is when you can't get that glucose from the cell that's covered in the seed oil, your liver goes, okay, I need glucose, because the brain's like, I need to function, but it can't, right? So then you're eating sugar, filling yourself more blood with more sugar and with more glucose, but your body's actually going, I have enough glucose, it just can't get to my brain properly. And this is the harmful effect of seed oils. They also affect your hormones that not only tell you you're full, but tell you when you're hungry. So you're in this like constant cycle of needing to hit this glucose spike, needing to hit this brain energy, but you can't function properly. And that's why there's so many people nowadays with diabetes, because of this very reason. It's scary. Whew, that's my rant over. So biggest tip I gave you there was nutrition, seed oils. The second thing I did was movement. I was like the cardio junkie girl. I was like, if I'm not sweating, I'm not working out. You have to be, that. I was an annoying person in the gym, lifting weights, doing burpees in between star jumps, like boxing the air. And I remember my partner was like, what are you doing? Like, just train properly. And I'm so glad and grateful to him for teaching me this, because weight training properly with like mind-muscle connection, you're going to have a better transformative effect on your body than doing freaking burpees and running around like a crazy person, thinking you need to sweat to burn calories. The biggest thing changed for me when I did my movement with purpose, because like I said, I've been an athlete for many years. I knew how to train, my form was good, but I wasn't training properly. Like, I've probably spent years wasting my training because I was just like training on my phone, not doing sets properly, like not training with progress, fatigue to failure. So I wasn't actually breaking down that muscle to rebuild, to actually look and feel stronger, which is the most important thing. The third thing I did was brain gym, I call it, and I teach you all these processes in more detail in True Self Mastery. So if you do want to know more about it, just comment below. But in True Self Mastery, I go deep into into the lessons and give you the theory behind it. The biggest gift you can give to yourself is health, and you do that through education. That's the greatest thing, I truly believe. So the third thing is brain gym, and that's cortisol, because if you are eating well, you're going to the gym, and you're eating for your lifestyle, by the way. I hear so many people like, I'll just use ChatGPT to create me a meal plan. And I'm like, well, fantastic, but is that suitable to your lifestyle, to what you do on a daily basis? Does that robot know your life? Maybe nowadays more and more, but like realistically, no. So cortisol, especially in females, is through the roof. We tend to put ourselves last. We tend to put, if you've got a kid, the family first, the animals first, the job first. You don't tend to prioritize yourself, which has its toll, and it can take its toll on you. But fundamentally, the biggest thing is cortisol. If you don't know how to bring your cortisol down, like cortisol is good, it's released every day in the body, and it can give you that bit of kickstart in the morning to get things done. There's so much more research now to show, do your workout, in the morning, you've got more cortisol, you can have a more effective workout, things like that. However, if you don't know how to bring your cortisol down, it can have a detrimental effect. And again, if we link this back to PCOS, the stress, the inflammation, that then linked to the seed oils, then linked to being insulin resistant, you can see how symptoms of PCOS can be easily managed when lifestyle changes are made with a purpose. But your body will actually store fat, will store the cortisol as fat, because it's going into stress, fight mode, to be like, oh my God, I constantly need to be in survival mode because I'm stressed. There's a tiger coming to eat me. So more and more, it's so important to bring and learn how to lower your cortisol. And that's exactly what I teach my ladies. And that's exactly what I did to help manage my PCOS. So I call it completing the stress cycle, give you techniques on how to do that. Yes, there's things like yoga, which I do. There's things like breath work. I'm sure you know that. Going for a walk, there's so many more benefits now. Like going for a walk when you feel stressed can actually have a much better effect on your cortisol than sat down when you're trying to calm yourself down, especially if you're not used to meditating or breathing. Like, I know we all breathe, but like deep breathing with a purpose to relax your vagus nerve, to relax your body, takes skill. And what a lot of us do is we apply these principles when we're in a chronic pain and we're like, I need this now, when really we should be doing it now, today, when things are seemingly not so bad or your pain isn't that bad, so that when it happens, you are prepared. And that's the biggest I can tell you. There's that quote, right, that says, you fall to the level of your preparation. And that is the key. Like, the reason we train now, the reason we have nutrition the way that I teach my ladies in True Self-Mastery, the reason we look at cortisol now is because life happens. Like, we can't prepare what's going to happen in life, but if you have these strategies in place, you will bounce back a lot quicker, you will recover a lot quicker, and you won't be affected as someone who's already in that kind of rabbit hamster wheel of cortisol, stress, pain. I hope you found this helpful. Please remember to give me a subscribe and a like. And if you have any questions, just comment below.